Mhm.
See tonight, we don't come again. Oh, yeah. Been a long time where you never come home. Really low, I do wonder. Papa, mommy, begin on the wonder. Really low, them the wonder. My brother, now where you there? When you come back home, my sister, now where you there? When you come back home, you feel that the music and things you like, I'm coming back. Make you dance to the rhythm what people they get to come back. Tragedy, football oublié. Interdit, faut pas oublier. We want it, we want it. And you do that, we want it. We want to get a new day. Dreaming big for tomorrow. We gotta walk hand in glove. Be an inspiration to the younger generation. Oh, no, no. And it's because you back home. Oh, I'm la vie. Yeah. My brother, where you there? Where you come back home? You come back. My sister, where you there? Where you come back home? Listen to the music, the things they like to come back. Make you dance to the rhythm what people they get to come back. RTD, faut pas oublier. Interdit, faut pas oublier.
We want a better new day. Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. We do want a better new day. We just can't stand this situation of the lockdown any longer. It's been postponed again, and we have to be for the next 2 weeks, the next 3 weeks, the next 4 weeks. But guess what? Hey, we'll keep the smile on and make the most of it. That song at the beginning was by Z Val, an artist who wrote a song for the Returnees Project. And of course, Z, if you're watching, greetings from us out here. This is Germany, and I'm welcoming my guest today. But before we go on into the discussion of today and interview, how are you today? Have you made the most of today? Did you make the most of yesterday? What are your plans for tomorrow? Don't let the lockdown lock down your brain, as Jamia would say, right? So keep your brain moving, keep working. I actually read something fascinating today. When fishermen can go out to sea, they stay at the shore and repair their nets. So are you repairing the nets of your brain? Are you getting prepped for the time after the lockdown? So use the time constructively. We of the Returnees Project are traveling across the world and talking to amazing guests on different topics, different domains. You had a chance at the beginning of this video to see the guests we have had. Rich, right? Of course, as Rich as my guest today. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I've been waiting to talk to this fine young man who is very prominent out there in his writings. But when it comes to having his face on camera, this is his first ever Facebook Live interview. So welcome with me, ARREY B of ARREY B Media. Hello, hello, AB.
Thank you, Lady OBEN. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. It takes the Returnees Project, I believe, to get you out of your hidden corner to bring on screen for your amazing audience to be able to watch you talk, see that effectively the person who expresses himself behind the scenes is this fine young man. So to start the interview, I'd like to let you know my team is absolutely proud of the steps you take in whatever you do. You have a professional edge in what you do, and trust me, we've been watching your works really closely. So congratulations for amazing work.
Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to be part of that kind of a family. It's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Yes. No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Like we always say, quality attracts quality. If you put out something great out there, it is the right people who will come to you. And most of the time, you even don't have to run after people anymore because they will come to you because they're attracted by your work. Good afternoon to you, Gilles Com in Luxembourg. Good afternoon to you. Now, let's start with something basic about media. It looks like it's easy, but just tell me, what is the media world like? What is it all about? What is behind the scenes which we don't see when we watch or read or listen to the news? What is the media world all about?
Basically, I think that there are a lot of things which the media does not show you, or which you not everybody will know in the media process. Maybe writing is not just about us writing out there and sending out information, but there are so many other things behind. Maybe we have to run around, make calls, research, see how to talk to people. You get threats as well. You get threats. You connect with people. You have to risk your life. Sometimes maybe I've been on investigations, maybe back getting into maybe the troubled region. So before we put out a story, there's so much which happens in the background. And sometimes you could still be, I've even had instances where I'm putting up a story and I'm shivering. I'm not sure what one put. So a lot of those things happen, but the general process has to do with the gathering the news, putting it in the right way that it should be told, and of course, disseminating it through the right medium.
Right, the right medium. You have fear sometimes when you put out a story and you're not sure how it will be taken and if your what your life will be like the next day, or if we'll even see you the next day. But how do you decide? I always think of three things. Why do you report a story? How you report a story and what you report? What prompts you to picking up a story to report on?
I think that as long as it is newsworthy, anything newsworthy is what I pick for a platform or things like that, because I understand that people always want to know what's happening. People always want to know. I mean, as long as if I focus on my niche as a political blogger, so whatever happens in the field of politics, or yeah, in related to politics, that's what I put out there because I understand that okay, people know me for writing politics, and this is what my audience wants to read. So anything that happens in relation to politics, we take it out as long as it's told the right way.
Okay, now talking about being told the right way, you mentioned you focus on politics. So I understand, of course, bloggers now specialize on a domain to blog on. You're focused on politics. What other domains are out there which bloggers pick to write on?
There's so many. I mean, there are thousands of domains out there. We have bloggers who teach bloggers how to blog. We have bloggers, yeah. So we have bloggers who major on fashion. We have travel bloggers. We have bloggers who major on some can even teach you. In fact, as there's something I always say: as long as you have a talent and as long as you're good in something, you can make a blog on that thing. That's actually one of
Right.
the things that so many people are missing out. Because if you open up a blog, let's say, okay, you're a host right now and you have a lot of experience in hosting. If you start to talk about hosting, people will want to listen to you. People
Right.
will want to, at the long run, I mean, the blog part could be your media arm, like your powerful media arm. So there are a lot of things about blogging. There's entertainment, there's travel, the people, I mean, sports, anything you can think about has a blog out there. Someone is talking about something out there.
And you have to kind of associate, kind of link this person to the particular blogging, the topic, right? I understand.
Yes, very right. Very
And
right.
now what about you? Now, when you mentioned the news, and how do you choose the platform on which you follow the news? How do you decide that this is the platform I'm going to get my news from?
I think that the first thing is that the platform of getting news, the first thing is that as a political blogger, first I have a link of all, or as a journalist, I have a link of colleagues and friends, and I have a link, a team who is also who are trained in communication. So when something happens, they're either out on coverage or something, then we are able to report. In the cases where I can't go everywhere, obviously, which is difficult, so I build a network with journalists around the country. Sometimes I have to call them. Sometimes you have to call them. Maybe you're paying a writer somewhere to write a story, to report a story for you, or you're reaching out that, okay, you want this information. And then, since politics is my thing, I take it upon myself to source for the contacts of government authorities, because there's probably no way you will write politics without reaching out to these people. So sometimes I have a whole catalog of their contacts, or if I cannot get their direct contacts, we have a link of emails, so that if there's something, especially so that you're also taking out the right information. So if there's something, email them. You could email them, hey, this is what is happening, or this is the allegation we have with your office. Would you mind making a comment on this or something? So that's how we first send out the right information, and then secondly, make sure that we get steady news and things like that.
So steady news and the right information, you do effectively reach out to these people so they can choose to give a statement to it, deny it, accept the allegations or whatever before you put it out there. Have you had a situation where you reach out to someone or an office and they say, do you dare not air that story?
Not really. Sometimes, most times, since it's by email, or because I think email is the most professional way of reaching out. So sometimes, on many occasions, I cannot count, hundreds of occasions, they have not responded. But I'm fine, because I say in my mail or in my story that I reached out to them and they refused to speak. So it's probably not my problem. Reached out to them.
Indeed, but you gave them a chance, which I find actually great. You want to have credible news, so you reach out to the people so they can say something about it. Now, talk about fake news. How do you identify or recognize fake news, if at all?
There's first of all no major way of recognizing fake news other than you researching, because how would you know fake if you don't have the real thing? Sometimes I put up a story and then somebody comes and comments on that fake. So Cameroonians are funny. And there's a thing I have. So when you comment fake, I smile, and then I'm like, yeah, bro, that's true. I mean, it means I was also fooled. But do me a favor, put up the right thing, and I'll take my fake news down and put yours, which is real. So the first way I used to, if I get something, I remember like 2 weeks ago, I had a press release sent to me by an activist, said something about blah, 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 and everything like that. And then I was like, really? This press release? So I started by going through it, trying to look at the people or the government authorities that were mentioned in it. And then I realized, oh, this government authority is in prison. And they said this person signed this release. How does it happen? And then I was still confused. So I reached out to some colleagues. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And then we resolved to saying that it wasn't true. So if I had actually taken out that press release without verifying, I'm sure my career should have just gone down the drain, and everything you struggled to build for years is down the drain. So I think that the first way is you researching it, making sure that your facts are right, and making sure that you reach out to the people that are involved or whoever is involved in what you're talking about. That way, when you put out a story and they call you and they threaten you and they're saying things, I've done my job, but I did the right thing.
Right. So I'll just ask you at this point too, you see the way my camera is tilted, like I'm sitting a bit higher. I'll need you to be higher so that the comments or the questions don't come all the way to your face, right? Sorry to do this to you, but just so you have greetings there from Crystal Ken, who says, hello, Mr. ARREY Bate. And you had earlier on greetings from Jilcom as well. Yeah, Chris is watching. Right. So yeah, looking at the current state the world is in, this pandemic, which is keeping us locked down. I try not to go in there to check statistics every day, but what is your take on everything that is happening? Looking at the COVID-19 infection globally now, how would you analyze the entire situation from a media standpoint?
I think that it's from a media standpoint, I think that is something we did not expect. Over 2,200,000 cases right now. It's something that we did not expect. But as well, I think that the media has the sole opportunity to keep the audience calm. And apart from just reporting, there's something I say to myself. There's a spirit which you send out in your reporting, and there's an information, or there's a way that you communicate to your audience, which leaves them with a kind of information that you want to pass across. For example, an accident occurs, and instead of you saying that an accident, you say a fatal accident, you say ghastly accident, another person says. So there are these words which, when you use, it helps to instead instill fear. At the end of a report, someone feels like, oh, there's no hope. So the media has that responsibility to, alongside reporting, make sure that they are bringing hope to people.
Right.
So even if I'm reporting that, okay, 2 million people as well infected, I should also tell you that 563,000 people have recovered, right? So it helps you, and alongside also bringing you the safety measures and everything, so you help to understand that there's still some hope to I'm passing across my information.
So passing out current information, but not putting that doomsday kind of message in people's heads. You've mentioned over 2 million people infected in the world. Yes. So let's go now to the number of recovered. Like you've said, the advice is tell us the way it is, report with the facts, but also cover a bigger picture of it. I see 558,087 people have recovered. So we're looking at about 1/4 of the total number of people who were infected also recovered. But when we look at the death, we have 147,000 people, 745 who have lost their lives in the world. USA still stands at the highest, 678,210 people infected, opposed to 57,000 recovered. I don't know if you've had the chance to see what the rankings are like for the top first 5 or top 6 countries in the world currently infected. Any idea to the way the numbers are moving?
It's actually increased. I think USA has right now 685, followed by Spain. Spain has about 188,000, and then Italy 172,000, France 165,000, Germany 138,000, UK 108,000, and then China.
Oh dear.
So at least 6 countries have beaten China.
But at first when we looked at China looked kind of too far up in the list. It was like, whoa, how did they get to all that 80,000 people infected? But 6 other countries in the world have actually surpassed those numbers. What about Africa? Any idea of the statistics, what it is like, and how would you analyze the slow rate of growth in Africa?
Not exactly. I just know, all I know is that Cameroon tops the chart in sub-Saharan Africa with at least, I think Cameroon has about 855 cases right now. Yeah, announced cases, because the government has said they would no longer publish the recent stats. So.
Oh, really? Okay. Maybe they might be thinking the numbers are scaring the population, or what would be the reason? What do you think?
Probably it's one of the reasons. It's one of their damage control reasons, but I don't know how much that works for them, because I think that in times like this, communication is the key. Even if something is happening, the way you communicate it to me has an effect on how I should also get ready. Some people still think that it's crazy. Some people still think that coronavirus thing is like a scam. I'm like, really?
Oh dear. So they don't believe those numbers, and they don't believe that it's in Africa or in Cameroon, to be specific.
I mean, so I think that if the government communicates, that would be great.
Yeah, because not communicating on it could pass on a wrong picture, as in, well, we are fine or we've contained it. I was actually reading on a news portal in Germany today, and it looks like another problem with African countries is that they don't have enough ventilators. So if you really need to intubate, have people having breathing problems, you won't even have enough devices and equipment out there. So I don't know what you think about the general plight, let me put it that way, of the African continent if the infection rates rise as much as in the Western world.
I think that I fear for people. The first thing is equipment. I'm not sure we have the kind of equipment. The Western world is struggling with it right now, and I'm not sure that if we had the kind of figures the Western world is recording, if we will be able to match up with the kind of expertise and the kind of with the kind of equipment that we have. And then secondly, my next fear is the fact that most of us are crying over lockdown, but I also feel for those whose lives depend on their daily hustle. How do you ask somebody to lock down when every day I have to hustle 10,000 francs to feed myself? Right. So something that's really not feasible. That's where the government needs to come in, because you're asking people to lock down or you're asking people to stay home. If I stay home, I'll die of hunger. And if I go out, the virus kills me. So I'll prefer to stay out hustling. I think that's where the government should stretch a hand. I mean, their funds. You could stretch hand to extra funds and see how to help these families stay at home. Thank God for maybe other people, maybe like Samuel Eto'o is helping. I think he is feeding about 50,000 households. Yet we need more, like Oliver Twist. We're asking the government for more because we want them to be able to speak to the people, help the households, and ask them to stay indoors. If I was to suggest, the government should, if they have to put down a lockdown, they're going to institute a lockdown, number one, try to see how to subsidize certain amenities for these households. And then thirdly, try to take a region by region search for these cases and see how to maybe segregate them and now bring in those measures. Probably shutting down the whole economy is too much to ask, but you can do it region by region so that it helps to also pick out these cases and then save the whole bulk of population from it. But just giving us the figures and everything might really not help that way.
Okay, so more should be done. You actually sound like the governor of New York today in the news update. So I see a governor thing coming your way. Anyways, yeah, you're right. You know, section the population, section the regions, test the people, go case by case. You know, isolate if you need to, trace, test, track. You know, if somebody has been in contact with someone who is positive, you watch
Right.
those ones. So yeah, like I said, you're sounding very much like the news experts, which we're running all day today and talking that way. So that's why we wanted to talk to you, especially when it comes to Cameroon and the fear. But let's go to something else. You have an amazing pen. When I think of young authors in Cameroon and the few I have read, you have an amazing pen. When you write, there is that thing which keeps one reading. I understand, you know, when you have a book and you say, oh, this is a page turner, you just go from one to the other. Now tell our viewers, how do you write in order to attract so much attention from your readers and potentially, of course, clients or partners? How do you write to
I do a lot
retain
of
their
writing.
attention?
Most times I say I write for a living because I'm either writing news or I'm writing advert copies. I'm writing news or advert copies or writing a blog post or something. I think that it will be it's too bulky for us to be able to maybe take in for a while or just one saying or just one thing to be able to show one how to write. But there are a couple of things which maybe some of us writers used to make, which I struggle to better about my writing. The first thing is about, I mean, the grammar. The grammar is like a turn off to your audience, and
Right.
many people don't understand. Even businesses, I mean, and generally, even if you have a friend who doesn't write well on their social media, you get bored by reading. So the writing starts with the grammar, and if you have knowledge, you should have a whole basic knowledge of what you're writing about. Usually what I do is sometimes I ask myself, okay, what do I want to write? If I'm writing an advert copy, I'm like, what's the aim of writing this? The aim is to get someone to buy my book, or the aim is to get someone to buy this product from this company. So I'm writing with that in mind. I write the first trash and then put it down. Sometimes I have to go over it. I'm kind of a perfectionist. So sometimes I could go over a single article like 15 times before putting it up. Depends on what the effect that I want. But I make sure that the words are structured well. I'm using the right words. And for those who are writing advert copies, I think that one of the things I learned over time is using words that relate to people. I used to be like, for example, if you're writing maybe a copy or for, let's say jeans, a pair of jeans for men, there are words which you use which men like. For example, muscular. Right? Men like the kind of words, words that have to do with expressing their personalities. If I'm writing for a product for women, I use words like beautiful, because women like to look beautiful. They like to look special. So those words play with people's minds. And then if I'm writing for my political writing, I hit hard on the nail because people were hitting hard. I think those are the basics of it. Helping that way, and then maybe using very catchy headlines to bring people's attention to it.
There's one thing about actually catching people's attention. The next part is retaining their attention. How do you retain your readers' attention?
Building relationships, it's one of the major things, and that's the reason I used to say that it's very easy to be famous, very difficult to keep it. It's very that's why we cannot have so many artists still shining, because after you give one hit, you need another hit to make sure that you stay at the top. So when you get these people and they're attracted to you, sometimes you have to employ ways of engaging them. Sometimes I just sit and then I reach out to some people I've never spoken to on my timeline. Maybe once a month, I just maybe give you a call. I just send you a text that's keeping them. And then sometimes I engage them by asking them, okay, what would you like to read next time? Or what's your thought about this? And it helps. And then the most important of them all is consistency. Because there's something I spoke about in my book, the juju concept of advertisement. The reason why most of us kids, or those of us who grow now, I mean, I'm talking about, I know you're not included, those of us born after the 1990. So the
Oh,
reason
that's
why
90, right?
after 1990, I mean, those of us who were born that time, the reason why we're afraid of juju is because our parents used to use these words on us. And my mother will always tell me, don't go out in the night. If you go outside, juju go catch them. And now we grow up to be afraid of juju just because we have heard it. It's not like something has actually happened to you or that juju is actually outside, but because the first aspect of it is the first aspect of the advertisement process or you retaining something, it's by consistently seeing it. So when you say it
Okay.
often, it registers in your mind, and science proof that the man acts what is registered in their mind subconsciously. So the first way of really retaining these people is by showing up always. The more you're showing up, they know that you exist, they know that you are always there, and then they bring you the gigs. Some people come to you for advertisement, some people now talk to you, they come to you for other issues. So consistency is like brings you natural experience. That's how I could round it up.
So consistency, writing properly, always showing up, building a platform, basically, right? What inspired you now as an author? What inspired you to writing a book at all? Like, why write a book?
Difficult. Sometimes I used to feel hunger. But there are a couple of things. I mean, because when I realized that so many people reached out to me for advice, like when I started doing consultancy, I had a lot of people come to me, okay, how can I be able to do this with social media? How can I be able to do this? And it became it's boredom trying to repeat the same thing to many people. I mean, today I'm talking to this one, and the next day I'm talking to this. I think I've spoken to, my count showed that I've spoken to more than 500 people. I'm like,
Okay.
okay, so why don't I put these writings down? Why don't I put it in the way that people could be able to at least have it everlasting? And I think that I had built a platform a little, which I had a couple of friends and people who could listen to my word and follow me and know that I was good at that. So I decided to put the first thing in writing. So when I put it down, I had to go on the process. First, I started reading about the process of publishing a book, which is very important because you don't just get into something without knowing what exactly it takes. So I went into the process of welcome. So I went into the process of reading first exactly what exactly it takes to write a book, which is the very first important thing. And then later on, I started asking myself, what exactly do I want to say in this book and what's the aim? So I started putting that together. But the reason was that I wanted to be able to help people because so many of us spend our time on social media. And I used to say that I did the most I did, or maybe getting to build this brand with the usual 100 francs data, which most of us use. I'm talking aside buying a laptop and other things.
Of course.
So it's the usual data. So while all of us are online, all of us are browsing and just having fun, I think that it's very important that this one of my quotes which I wrote. I said that in as much as social media makes you feel important, you're not going to live with it. You're not going to go home with the likes and comments. Your gain is going to be the things you use social media to benefit in
Yeah,
your life.
right,
So
right.
that was the sole importance of me writing a book like that, helping people to understand that when I graduated, I've never, after graduation, I've never worked for anybody. I was like, okay, if this could be something that I could get into, I tried it the first year, it made some money for me. I'm like, okay, hey, let me look at this and maybe take a clearer look at it, started investing some time to study the gimmicks of it and everything. And I thought that I have learned enough to at least show some people what exactly it is.
Right. And especially when they see that you do sell the books and you do make money off the books. So what you say is what you do. I was just having a look at the copies, at least the hard copy of your book here, How to Make Money, Build Right Relationships with Social Media. You're saying Facebook and WhatsApp. And you go on to give contact details of how to get the books, on arrayb.com. /shop or www, of course, Amazon.com. So they're selling well. But where did you sell most? Did you sell most of your books offline or online? Where did you make the most sales?
We've sold both offline and online because we printed a whole lot of copies distributing. But the major way of selling was online because all the people who contacted us, be it to buy, either bought soft or hard copies. So the truth is the online community in Cameroon is really slow. But the reason we keep advertising and showing up on people's faces is because we want them to know that you could still Joybet. Joybet, my village people are here.
Hello, Joybet. In the middle of a serious interview, your village people are here watching. Hello, Joybet. Thanks for tuning in.
So we've sold a lot of copies, both offline and online. So many people would like to get it on hard copies. Hard copies are available anyway it is. But we sell a whole lot, both online, offline, on Amazon as well. It's also on Amazon.
Usually people struggle with your first books. You're selling online and offline. You're selling on your website. You're having even your colleagues in the media world advertise your book, which is amazing. And your people, friends like Joybird also advertise your book. But now, how would you explain the success? When you write a first book, usually it's not that normal, usual for it to have that attention yours has got. But what explains the success of your first book?
I think that the first thing is because first, I think that there are people. There's probably no way I'll brag about being able to sell 1,000 copies of books without people being involved. And that's why I really hold my friends, people generally close to my heart, because I believe that most of the things I've had, most of the things I hold people close. And I've been able to, first thing, they're the people. And then the second thing is consistency, probably with my expertise in marketing, maybe working with big brands like the UBS and the rest. I got a lot of experience, and I drew up a marketing plan for my product. Many people don't know that, but I actually drew up a marketing plan for my book and spent hundreds of thousands to promote it as well. So it's making the sales because we also invested in it as well, and staying consistent with the marketing and things like that.
Okay, marketing, putting up a plan, staying consistent with the marketing. Now, any plans for other publications?
Yes, but I want to sell enough more copies first.
So we'll invite you on December 18th, 2020 at the Returnees event. Come with your copies. We'll have a stand for you to reach out to the people and sell more copies of your book, right? So I'm going to inform the team that you'll be coming with your books and have a good pen there to sign autographs as well. What do you think?
It's going to be lovely, and I'm showing up. Who turns down that kind of an invitation?
You're invited. Bring your books, and please keep me 2 copies of your book, because I could offer it to some young people as well. Yeah, don't forget that, 2 copies of your book. So I could offer to some young people to learn, just like you, as we said, looking at the cover, like the cover of your book, how to make money, build the right relationships with social media. It's a topic I find fascinating for someone like you, because it's not only about making money, it's how you build those relationships that you intend have a platform now globally of people who find your work very credible. So we'll see you on the 5th edition of the Returnees event on December 18, 2020 in Dubai.
Right? So
Perfect. Now, if I had to write a book, what do you think? What would you want me to write on?
Let me do. I think I can name 3. The first thing is you have to write a book about leadership. You're so good at leadership. You have leadership skills, and it's dripping from your body. That's the first one, leadership. The second one, obviously, hosting events, and then I also think that you have a very good organizational skill. Keeping yourself composed. And yes, personally, I think that you have a very good organizational skill, because leadership as well goes with organization. You cannot control people if you cannot even control yourself. And from who I know you to be, you have very good organizational skills. Many people really don't get it, that you have to be organized. The organization comes with you knowing what to do exactly, knowing, I mean, social media has come. I think that was one of the biggest problems I had to battle with in my career, because the fact that I was working online meant that I had to spend hours of my time online. Sometimes I find myself having chats that I really did not want to, and I was just waiting for the next message to respond. So now I had to consciously tell myself, okay, young man, you're going to be on WhatsApp, but you're typing something else. Keep the chats for an hour. And after 1 hour, you go back and reply to those you want to. So even if I'm online, I try to tell myself, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do for the next 30 minutes.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you're focused on that exactly. So I think that you're so good at that. Sometimes I watch you and I learn from that. I mean, getting
That's good. So I better start writing then. Looks like 3 books already lined up for me to write. I'll get to writing. Thank you very much. It's because I also have an amazing team working with me behind the scenes. They've understood that the consistency and being persistent is very important when we work together. You know, having all these set up, the interviews, when the flyers go out and all the communication process. I mean, you are an expert in that domain is very, very important. And how you put yourself out there as well, you attract the right people. So, but then of course, it's about you. I noticed 2 years ago, you did a tour around Cameroon, something I've never seen a blogger do. You did like kind of like a national tour, went to about, could you tell me a little bit about more about that tour, reaching out to crowds of young people? What inspired you?
We just wanted to be able to help to reach out to people. I think by that time I had like over 50,000. We were recording about 50,000 readers every month on the website. So I was like, okay, maybe we could see how to relate with our audience and also help them to be able to use social media. My whole story, I mean, um, I've gone through the worst and everything, be it growing as a student and everything. I had to start from scratch. So when I
Mm.
felt like, okay, I could at least make money to pay my bills, I felt like, okay, maybe I should help somebody out there and maybe show them as well. Even if you don't want to make money on social media as like for a living, there's also a way you used to sell out yourself out there. The things that I've had in my life have come through social media. So instead of being there and wasting time, it's rather very important that you be there to do something very important for your life. I think that's what motivated us. We had to go to six towns or 6 cities in Cameroon. We visited Douala, Yaoundé, Chang, Limbe, Boya, Tico as well. At Tico, the hall was filled, and we did not. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it was amazing. So we wanted to just train people on how they could be able to sell their career or their businesses through social media, and as well just to make valuable time or valuable use of the time which they spend online as well.
That's good. Making valuable use of the time they spend online is what we tell the young ones. It's not only about, oh, pretty hair, pretty dress, pretty shoes, nice haircut, and all that. You can make a lot of money online if you put your
Mhm.
passion and the professional, your skills and talents out there. You attract the right people and you do more marketing than just nothing to show for at the end of the day. One thing which you did, which I think is really remarkable, is touching these younger ones, ARREY B, with your media tour, the national media tour as a blogger. You can only keep yourself in people's minds if you're able to impact them the way you did. You saw the hall in Tico, like you mentioned. Everybody who went back home has a new idea of what they can do
Yeah.
to have their online presence better. We saw that. I think my team actually sent some of the testimonials, which people were writing about you, like, great job, I learned this or I learned that. So we are watching. We have eyes all over the world and we're watching, especially the young ones in Cameroon as well, right? So now let's go on with the interview and something I've always wanted to ask you. There are mistakes which reporters and journalists make, which I
Mhm.
see. But from your eye as a media person, what are like the 3 most common mistakes journalists or reporters make? What should they eliminate from their professionalism? Let's put it that way.
Typo.
Mhm.
I think that the typo spellings or be it grammar, it's one thing to know what to write, and it's another thing to know how rightly to put it. And there's something we say in communication, it's not effective until your listener has been able to see it and disseminate it, meaning that communication is not effective until they have understood what you're saying. So typos, I mean the wrong English and everything. I would just encourage anyone who is out there. I think that if you're starting off, or even if you're already doing it, it's very important to always go back at those stories or those things that you have to put online and see how to correct them. I think that this also goes alongside with the second thing I'll talk about, which is rushing. I mean, so many of us want to rush to be able to be the first to break the news, and we want to we're hearing to say that, okay, we did this first willingly. I think there's so many times I've gotten something first and I wait for my colleagues to put it up, because I'm like, oh no, I will not shout, I will not be the first to go and say, okay, I wrote it out first, let me see quiet. And then you have to, I mean, you have to make sure that you're getting your facts. If you're sure about it, obviously you take it out. But sometimes if I'm not so sure that, okay, this is something, I wait for others to take it out and then I just publish now what I have later after they've done it. And then the third thing I think is getting the facts right, which journalists really should struggle to do. It's not just about writing, but it's about getting the exact facts right, and not just saying that 3 houses were burned to death.
Or maybe assisting to to go and make sure that we bury the bereaved.
3 houses
I heard about burying the bereaved. Right. The common mistakes shouldn't make. Shouldn't rush. Should watch out for typos, because it's important that what you get out there should have, you should have your facts right as well. So those are the mistakes which, as well, to be honest, they actually get me thinking I can't read this any further. But that also is appealing to the eyes when you have clear, well-structured sentences, good grammar in there, and then 10,000 mistakes. Not everybody is good at writing. So the moment you get your friends commenting and telling you, well, your articles are great, but, so you have someone who could proofread what you write. You might have great content, but you need someone to proofread what you write. So I'm just saying hello at this point to Lisa Jones, who says, hi, Miranda, such a great initiative. I'm catching up from here. Hi, Lisa Jones. And we're also having greetings coming from Joe Trevor. Hey, ARREY B, learning a lot from here. Great job to you both. Okay, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. Thanks to everyone watching. But now, with us having to be indoors, and I want to get credible news from Cameroon by Cameroonians. What are my top 5 platforms, online platforms to go to if I want to read?
There's so many out there who are doing lovely jobs. I think that the online space in Cameroon is growing rapidly, and I love so many of us who are out there. We have Mimi, we have Mime for Info, we have so many. Yeah, in fact, I think that there are hundreds of them doing really fine. And if you want to be, it's now left for the readers to choose.
So, that's a very smart way of answering. You see, you're not only a political blogger, you're becoming a politician yourself. You don't want to name some and forget some, and they're like, you didn't call my name. Right? But that's true, though. We actually give credit to all the
I think that was one of the things I did on my birthday. I wrote to a couple of them, and I think like 50 of them, I put together a mail for about 50 of them, and I wrote to them letting them know that I appreciate what they're doing. And so many times we don't get to receive the credits for what we do. Right. So I think that they're all amazing. If I have to start calling, the list is really long, but they're doing fine.
It's exhaustive. That's so political, but great. I'll take it for an answer, right? You mentioned Mimi Mefo. Yes, she's one of the few, I think, bloggers or news platforms that has talked about our series of interviews. The Returnees Project is powering a series of interviews every evening, 6 p.m. Cameroon time. And she is one of the only platforms, I think, as of now, which has written about it. So a shout out to Mimi. Thank you for watching out for everything we do. You've always been following us. So thank you for mentioning her as well. At this moment, we're encouraging people to read books, listen to music, exercise and eat, sleep daily, eat healthy, sleep very well, right? That is 6 to 8 hours of sleep a day. Very important for the immune system and of the mindset at the moment. What books do you read, apart from your books? Apart from your books, what books do you read, ARREY Bate?
I think that generally, when I read or when I want to read, I read based on what I want to learn at the moment. So from time to time, I have different books that I read. Sometimes I could start one and then maybe if I get what I want to get, I could pause with it and say, okay, I'll come back to this later. But I've had really two amazing books, maybe because I also, I was eager to really learn a whole lot about marketing. So I had to read Sell Like Crazy by Sabri Subi. Yeah, it's an amazing book. I stumbled on it online and then I had to buy it. And then also I learned a whole lot from Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It really helped me to be able to have a different mentality about the world or about what people think and how to relate with them. I mean, remember the rich dad and the poor dad and how they are able to pass across information or experiences to their kids. That really helped me a lot.
Right. And now when we leave books and think about music, what kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to music at bedtime. Right now, I am listening to Leslie Saka like the 500th time. So sometimes I don't know, sometimes I'm crazy. I just listen to one music straight, like 1 week. So this week, my song is Saka by Leslie, which I've
Okay,
been.
I'll have to discover that. Yeah, I don't know a lot of Cameroonian artists being out here, of course, but I'll have to discover that one then. Okay, so do
Yeah,
you just listen to it or do you get a chance to dance to it as well?
I dance under the shower.
That actually reminds me one of your award events last year, the one at which you had Salatiel and a couple of other great guys. And there was a
Yeah,
picture of yours. You were standing like, I don't know, were you dancing? Were you?
I don't know. I don't know
I
where
wish
that
I had
picture
that
came
picture
from.
now. I would have shown the viewers. It was such a pose. Like I laughed. Like, oh my goodness, what was he doing? But it was a successful event. Once more, congratulations for that. What was the name of that event? What was that event again?
Afripreneur, maybe Afripreneur
Entrepreneur.
was.
Right. So you were
And we're
rewarded.
probably going to, yes, we're probably going to be relaunching it, if not for the crisis, but we will obviously be taking out a press release next week just to let people know that we have started with preparations, but still hoping that they stay safe and see how things go for 2020.
All right. Okay. So we'll be looking forward to seeing your poses again in that one. You have greetings from Goretti Echuegwe. Hello, Array, watching from London. Right. So just have a
Hi,
different
Dorothy.
view of so many people, different parts of the world. We've had Luxembourg, Gilles come. We've had Cameroon. We've, of course, your home country. We've had Goretti. And then we have people here in Germany watching as well. But before we wrap up this interview, are there some people you want to say hello to? Being in a lockdown, you can't meet all the people you want to meet, but I'll give you a chance to extend your greetings to a couple of people out there in the world.
This is long. I want to say hello to my village people. The list is long, but I want to say hello to everyone who is watching and to everyone who has supported me this far. I have a high regard for people, and I believe that my money is in their pockets as well. So I'm saying hello to them and everyone who is watching. Hello to Big Brother Joybet, and we are waiting for the wedding as well.
Okay, great. So we talk about tomorrow. We'll be having on the program here Roland Quemen. He wrote
Ooh,
the.
I've been in touch with him.
Yep,
We've
yep.
never met, but I've been sending him emails.
You have a chance to watch him tomorrow live. That is
Oh,
the patron of the Returnees Project. You, the spokesman of the Returnees Project. He, the patron. So
oh,
latest December 18, 2020, we'll throw a big party also to celebrate the end of the COVID-19 and lockdown, hopefully on the 18th of December in Douala. And you'll get a chance to meet Roland Quemen, who we'll be meeting tomorrow. He talks about the ability of each person to make a positive change in the world, talks about the impact of
oh,
one.
wow.
So I know authors like him, Cameroonian authors like Roland Quemen, you, ARREY B, Javnyoy Joybert as well. I'll have a special corner on December 18 with my team, which is just going to be Cameroonian books, right? We want to show these books to the world and show the great job you're doing. But before we wrap up this interview, let me also give you a chance to, in your own words, with the world facing over 2 million infected people, as a result of this coronavirus, which God knows where this novel virus came from, the COVID-19. Now we're locked up at home with family. Of course, it's lovely to have time here with my little boy, my husband, my family here. But on the other hand, we know people are dying. We know people should use this time positively. I'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes to just reach out to the world with a message from your heart to everyone watching, people who will watch later, and even people who will just be thought about at this moment.
Oh, there's so much going on right now in the world, and I think that as long as we stay alive, there's hope. That's what I think. As long as you have that breath, there's going to be hope. Apart from following the health experts and listening to their advice and everything, one thing I always preach so strong is about using the moments of solitude to build something in your life that will count. Because what if the virus ends tomorrow? I always ask myself, okay, how do I get to face life again? So it's in your own interest to be able to use these moments of solitude to build something for your life, or maybe to see how, as long as you're staying home and you're safe and you're listening to the health experts and trying to keep yourself away from the virus, it's also an important time to reconnect with families, to build a career, to make sure that you show love to somebody, to make sure that you're reaching out to people and getting back to reconnect with people. And above all, I think it's very, very important to learn a skill. Learn a skill. Just pick up something. Right now, I'm doing the piano, so I'm on it, and I'm learning something. I finished my course on investigative journalism from the Knight Center of Journalism in the US. And now I'm on my piano. Maybe when I finish, I'll be like, if the lockdown increases or continues, I'm taking a third skill to learn. So it's very important. Just look for something which also helps you to build a life and or betters your life from the point where it is.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that message. Improving your skills. You have a question coming in from Italy. That's Alice Michelle who says, Array, how do you train yourself to keep your determination 100%?
The first thing I do is I don't know, but I struggle to build so much positive. This is one thing I think I haven't mentioned.
Mhm.
Apart from the fact that you have to stay out, or from the fact that you have to scout out for what's happening in the world, I I consciously train my mind to selectively retain what I want to keep, meaning that it helps me in my life. For example, if let's just say I hear 100,000 people have died or something, I selectively retain what should remain in my mind because it affects my energy personally. So I try to always keep a positive spirit. I try to always be positive. Okay, the lockdown has come. One thing I always used to say is worry. Worry is a choice. And the fact that I think there was one time I was praying, and then the Holy Spirit asked me a question. I was so worried, and then the Holy Spirit asked me a question. So, what has your worry changed? So, I was dumbfounded. I'm like, what has my worry changed? So, the worries are always going to be there, but now it is in your interest to choose what should disturb you. It is in your interest to choose what should get into your head. So I think personally, in as much as those things are happening, I try to shut myself away from the negative aspects of it and trying to see how to focus on what I want. If I say, okay, right now people are dying out, the first thing is I have to be safe. I have to listen to the what the medical experts are saying. And then the third thing is how to build my life forward. So I start now maybe drawing a plan, say, okay, I want to learn this thing. I want to build this aspect of my life. I think that helps me a lot, maybe with personal determination and then reaching out to sourcing for material that helps you to build your life.
So you
Then it's hard
consciously
to,
train your mind to
yes,
selectively retain what is in your mind.
yes, selectively, like consciously. Each time, sometimes I willingly don't watch some video reports. If I stumble on it on the internet and I know this is going to disturb me, I scroll past it because willingly I'm like, I don't want this to get into my head right now. Maybe it's going to affect my energy, it's going to affect the way I think. But yet I look for news. I report. And obviously, I have to see what I have to take out. But there are certain things which I don't just go close. I'm struggling to always keep that positive energy. And so far, I think it's been working because a lot of people around me, they talk about it. They talk about my energy, which even goes further to affect them. I think I'm so positive. And personally, I have a personal, I have a personal belief or a personal, how do they call it? Not to share bad news. I don't talk about bad news on my timeline. I never like anything that gets on my timeline is positive.
Right. So you stick to
Yeah.
positivity, you train your
Yeah.
mind, you consciously train your mind to selectively retain what is in your mind. Let's see if I can give you a smile this evening. And if this is the right song, something Leslie Saka, you said?
Yeah.
Let's see if I got the right one. I want to thank you so much for taking up the time to talk to me today, one of my guests after
Pleasure.
about 14 days now. We're very happy to have had you here today and powered again by the amazing team of the Returnees Project. I want to give a shout out to everyone who is making this possible, ensuring that everything is in place. Dream team, as always, thank you very much. I want to thank all the guests who have been with us the past weeks. And I want to say, of course, I can only come sit here, do what I do best, because I have an amazing team working behind the scenes. Thank you all
And
for what you do. And of course, ARREY Bate, thank you for talking to me this evening.
I should thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy.
I'll see if this is the right song. Let me know if you can hear it.
Yes, that's it.
I was going to wrap up, but it looks like Trevor Joe has a question for you. What can you say has been your greatest achievement so far as a political blogger, and what challenges do you face?
As a political blogger, my greatest achievement has been standing up to power. For the yes, I think that's my greatest, and that's one of my biggest cry. Standing up for those whom I think need to speak out. I have a very high regard for the media, and I believe that the media is the fourth estate to check power, and that's one of my core values. That's why I don't go for the Ngombo stories, but I rather go for what I know that creates an impact. Sometimes we report a whole lot of things, and I'm so happy when I see something change as a result of the reports that we have done. I think that's been it brings a lot of satisfaction to me. That's been my greatest achievement so far. That's personally. Maybe other achievements internationally, I'm happy for them, but I also like when our reports have an effect and we see people or we see policies being changed as a result of what we do.
Great. So that was a question from Trevor. I didn't want you to miss that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, join us here, same time tomorrow, 7 p.m. France, 7 p.m. Germany, 6 p.m. Cameroon, and 6 p.m. UK. My name is Miranda OBEN, as you already know, and it will be a pleasure to welcome Senator Roland Quemen tomorrow, Saturday.
Yay!
And on Sunday, we shall be receiving Dr. Mbianda Pabdo. She's based in France and partly in Germany. And of course, we'll also be receiving Tanaka Durans, a young Cameroonian who won the Returnees cash prize last December. Stay tuned. I'll see you at 7 p.m. tomorrow, German time, 6 p.m. Cameroon time. And that is another song which I discovered today, Saka by Leslie.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us, ARREY B.
I'm so happy. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure, our pleasure indeed. So I'll see you on the 18th of December in Douala.
Yes, for sure.
I can't give up. I'm moving on. I just got started.
have a wonderful evening and stay tuned.